My name is Jalen Cherry, and welcome to my top 10 list of mythical Greek monsters. My rankings are based on how popular they are now, how scary, and how powerful they were back in their myths. Number 1. Typhon. Typhon was known as the most ferocious creature to walk the earth and was unfathomably huge. It was said that when he walked, he would touch the stars. Typhon's strengths were his super durability, how he was accompanied with storms anywhere he went, and his nice stamina. His weaknesses were Zeus. Zeus and Typhon had a battle so mighty that it threatened to break the planet in two. Later down the line, Zeus defeated him with 100 thunderbolts to his head. Typhon had huge wings and fire eyes. The rage of him can still not be contained. That's why we have the weather called typhoons now. Number 2, Echidna. Echidna, like most female monsters in Greek mythology, had the body of a monster and the face of a woman. Echidna was known as the mother of monsters, as she gave birth to the Hydra, the Chimera, and the infernal hounds of Orthus and Cerberus. Echidna was immortal, was very seductive, poisonous, and had very powerful offspring. Her only weakness was she really didn't have that good of any powers. Though she is very high on this list because of her very powerful offspring, and her husband was Typhon, the most powerful Greek monster of all time. Number 3, Medusa. Medusa was a beautiful maiden once, but she was cursed by Athena and transformed into a gorgon with snakes for hair. She found out that her gaze would turn anyone who looked at her to stone. Perseus, the son of Zeus, was sent on a quest to behead her, with the help of the gods who gave him the gifts such as mirrored shield, winged sandals, the helmet of invisibility, and a magic sword. Perseus ended up defeating Medusa by looking in the shield and looking at Medusa's reflection so he didn't turn to stone. He chopped her head off with the magic sword and used it as a weapon later on. Medusa was very clever and very tricky, but her weakness was she was too emotional. Number 4, Hydra. Hydra was Hercules' second labor. Hydra is a terrifying water serpent with many heads, and when one would get cut off, 2 more would grow back. Hercules, with his nephew Iolaus, find out if they cauterize the neck stumps, the head wouldn't regrow. After Hercules sliced a head off, Iolaus used a torch to seal the wounds. After, Hercules would dip his arrows in the poisonous blood of Hydra for later. Hydra's strengths were its 9 heads and how powerful it was. His weakness was the immortal head, meaning the one head that did get cut off and cauterized, he couldn't grow it back, and he was basically dead for that. Number 5, Cerberus. Cerberus was a massive, fierce, 3-headed hound that guarded entrance to the underworld. It prevented the dead from leaving and the living to entering the underworld. It was the 12th and final labor of Hercules by King Eurystheus. Hercules managed to defeat him with his strength. He didn't harm Cerberus and later returned him safely. He also got defeated by another god, but not by strength. He sang a song and he went to sleep. Cerberus is pretty middle of the pack for me. He's very, very terrifying, but the way he got beat, some of them were just not that impressive, so that's why he's middle of the pack for me. Number 6, Sphinx. Sphinx had the body of a lion, wings of an eagle, and the head of a woman. Sphinx was sent by the gods to the city of Thebes as a punishment. His thing was he asked everyone a riddle. What walks on 4 feet in the morning, 2 in the afternoon, and 3 in the evening? The answer was a child, but to anyone who couldn't answer correctly was eaten. Oedipus answered with a man and outwitted her, and she got so disappointed that she ended up killing herself. The Sphinx's strengths were its claws and its roar. The weakness was the riddle. This is also very popular, so that's why it's kind of by number 1 on this list. But it just wasn't very strong, wasn't very scary. I mean, if I saw this now, I'd obviously be scared because that's kind of scary in real life. But as a myth, it just doesn't compare to the rest. Number 6, the Scylla. The Scylla was once a beautiful nymph transformed into a creature with 6 heads and 12 tentacle-like legs. It had rings or sharp teeth and lived on one side of a narrow strait, opposite of whirlpool Charybdis. Odysseus and his men had to navigate that strait, and they had a tough choice to go near Scylla or Charybdis. Odysseus chose Scylla as it was a lesser threat at that time. He only lost a few men instead of the whole ship. Scylla had strengths were tentacles and its 6 heads, but its weakness were its invertebrate and muscle tissue, as it was a soft spot. It's kind of low on my list. Not the scariest. I mean, it wasn't even the scariest in the strait, so that's why it's number 7 for me. It's getting kind of weak at this point. Number 8, Chimera. Chimera was a fire-breathing monster. It had a lion's head, a goat's body, and a serpent's tail. Bellerophon, a hero, was tasked to slay it with the help of his winged horse, which was a Pegasus. He flew above the Chimera on the Pegasus, and he shot it with the arrows, ending up killing Chimera. Chimera's strengths were its fire-breathing, and its weakness was the weak goat midsection it had. It just wasn't a very strong monster. That's why it's so high on this list. And no one really talks about it either. And you will see on these last 2, not very strong at all. They only make the list because you know about them now. Number 9, Cyclops. Cyclopses were one-eyed giants. The most famous one was Polyphemus. He appeared in Homer's Odyssey, where Odysseus and his men got trapped in Polyphemus's cave. To escape, Odysseus blinded the Cyclops with a heated stake. They then snuck out beneath the bellies of the giants' sleep. Polyphemus, in his rage, threw boulders and curses Odysseus, which further troubles him on his journey home. Cyclops was just a big guy with above human strength. Like, obviously, he was strong. He was a lot bigger than everyone. Cyclops. His weakness was he was not smart at all, and he was very tempted by alcohol. Like I said, a lot of people know this myth now, so that's why it's even on this list. Not very scary, though. Like a lot of these, I'm saying I'd be scared if I saw them in real life, obviously, but not scary compared to anything at all. And not smart. But number 10, the Minotaur. The Minotaur was a creature with the body of a man and the head of a bull. It was a result of the curse on Minos, king of Crete. This monster lived in the labyrinth, a massive maze built by architect Daedalus. To appease the beast, Minos demanded that Athens sent 7 young men and 7 young women as a sacrifice every 9 years. Theseus, the prince of Athens, volunteered to go, intent on killing the Minotaur. With the help of Ariadne, Minos' daughter, who fell in love with him, Theseus navigated the labyrinth with a ball of thread and slew the beast. Minotaur's powers were it was brutal and strong, but again, it wasn't smart at all. These last 2, not very scary. I mean, this guy is actually probably the most scary looking out of the last couple. But again, slayed. I mean, nothing compared to the Hydra, even Cerberus or Medusa or Typhon. Just doesn't compare. But that was my top 10 list. I'm so glad you watched it, and I hope you learned something new.